Hello. Oh, hello, everyone. How are we doing? Long time no see. YouTube. I forgot where I was for a second. I was almost going to say Facebook for a second. I don't know why, but hi. Hello. How are ya? How's everyone doing? Grand return, Dark Side of the Ring. We're back. Season 3. Y'all, it's been a year. It's been a year since the second season. If y'all have watched me for a while, last year for the second season, we did watch-alongs as well on my YouTube channel. And I have ventured off onto the Twitch land, twitch.tv/Queen of the Ring, if you want to hang out with me Mondays, Fridays, and Saturdays. But yeah, we used to watch Dark Side of the Ring together here on YouTube land. And now we're back. Season 3 is back. And so we're back. How's everyone doing? Are we excited? Are we excited? So, first episode. Brian Pillman. Had to wear the shirt. Forgot I had this shirt, but it was hiding in the closet. Deep in the closet. I had this shirt. Had to wear it for tonight. Because we're gonna learn more about Brian Pillman Jr. Now, if you're new to Dark Side of the Ring, like, it's a tearjerker, for sure. Like, it's the name, Dark Side of the Ring. we get down to some serious business on this show, and it's such a good show. It's such a good show. I was so excited when they announced the 3rd season. The episode's about to start in a couple minutes, and yeah, I'm pretty pumped. I'm pretty pumped for the list of things for season 3, because I'm not too familiar with Collision in Korea. Not too familiar with that. I know the basis of Brian Pillman Jr., but in depth, I'm not too familiar with it. So I'm excited. There's a lot of good subjects this season, so I'm pretty excited. We're going to do this every Thursday. Tonight is a 2-hour premiere. So we're going to be together for 2 hours. It's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, so the first hour of tonight's episode was on YouTube. They uploaded it this week. So some people have some people have watched the first half of this episode. But the second hour, 10 to 11, brand spanking new. I did not watch too much of the stuff that they put up on YouTube. I watched maybe 30 minutes of it, and then I realized that I was probably most definitely going to watch this for the watch along again. So I didn't finish it. So I watched the first 30 minutes of tonight's episode, but there's 2 hours. We got a lot to get into. It's 2 whole hours, folks. But how are you? How's everyone doing in Twitchland? Twitchland? We're on YouTube. I'm sorry. I've turned my back on you, YouTube. I'm so sorry. How's the sound? How's everything sounding? I hope it's okay. Yeah, that's it. I just hope it's okay. That is all. I just want to make sure everything is like crystal clear. Okay. I think it's good. Y'all just let me know. It felt like yesterday that we were watching season 2. I know, Randall. It did feel like it was yesterday. It was so wild. Hello, Seth. Hello, Roach. How are you? We're in the tubes. If you're I'm in the tubes. 6 months into Twitch, and I can't. I've abandoned the tubes. I can't do the tubes anymore. Hello, Ben. How are you? Darlin McKnight. I hope I'm saying your name right. I'm so excited you're here. I'm happy you're here, and I'm also excited for the season. I just put my grandma onto the dark side of the ring, and she loves it. Dude, grandmas, shout out to grandmas, because I feel like grandmas are the main source for wrestling. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like almost everyone has their own origin story, how they got into wrestling, right? Like for me, if y'all have stuck with me for the past 3 years, you know that my origin story started out at WrestleMania 12. Shawn Michaels ziplined down into my heart. That's pretty much the basis of my origin story. My older brothers got me into it. But I feel like a lot of people's origin stories are that they're like, their grandmas got them into wrestling somehow. Like a lot of people's stories. So that's really cool. Oh, high fares. Thanks, Roach. Only the left side? Is it fixed up now, Randall? Because I think I tried to fix it. If it's not fixed. Yikes. Pay attention, but they won't. Yeah, I'm watching. Yeah, right now they have the Chris Benoit two-parter up right now. Obviously, I'm not going to show the show because I am not trying to get a copyright on my YouTube channel, but I will probably, y'all could probably hear the desktop audio. If y'all are listening to music right now, that is what's playing right now. So maybe you'll be able to listen to a little bit of the sound. But yeah, I'm not showing it. So yeah. Ben, you've only watched the first hour. The second hour they have not released. So yeah, they released the first hour on YouTube, but they did not release the second hour on YouTube, I believe. So I have not watched it. I have not seen it. I'm very excited. And yeah, we've got a few more minutes left. So if you haven't already, grab a snack, grab something to drink, whatever you want. Whatever you want, grab the snacks, stretch it out. And yeah, I mean, okay, I'm pretty excited for the Collision in Korea. But I'm really, really excited to learn more about Nick Gage. What are y'all excited to watch? Let me know in the chat throughout the whole episode which episode you're excited to watch this season. And also, during the commercial breaks, we're gonna talk about the show. So however you're feeling about the show, throw it into the chat. I want to read it out loud. Super chats too. I have super chats. You're not obligated to do it though. If you feel so inclined, that would be nice, but you don't have to. I'm still gonna read everybody's. I'm still yeah. If you want something, I'm gonna read everyone's. I'm gonna try not to read it out loud. If you want something read out loud, I will do it in the super chats. But especially if it's about the show. But yeah, I'll answer everyone's thing. Pretty much is what I'm saying. Do y'all get what I'm saying? I don't know. It's been a while since I've done super chats. You don't have to do super chats is pretty much kind of what I'm saying. But if you want me to read something out loud, like an opinion you have about the show, I will gladly do it through super chats and all that good stuff. Okay, I'm just excited. I'm just happy to be back on the tubes. We have 1 minute. Hello, Steve, and hello, Chris. Hi. FMW one? Oh my gosh. Yeah, I have a feeling the FMW one is probably going to be the season finale. Because it should be a two-parter. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the show as well. Well, I'm glad that you're happy the Mets won. Okay, we are very close to being done. I'm gonna cut this music. This is Dark Side of the Ring music I found on YouTube. So I'm gonna cut this music and then we're gonna start. And then we're gonna begin. Let me know if y'all can hear it a little bit. Chris, aka Clown Prince. Oh yeah! Hi, Clown Prince. I'll continue to call you Clown Prince. How about that?
My last trip with my family was for WrestleMania 23.
Roach said go Tigers. You know what? Go Yankees. I don't care what y'all say. I'm born and raised in the Bronx. I have to. Born and raised in the Bronx. All right. Let's get started. We're a minute away. We're just a minute away. Good to see you too. Good to see you as well, Groove Master. What do you think? What do you think about tonight's episode? It's gonna be interesting, all right. Brian Pillman's gonna be a good one to cover. We're 3 minutes away. Are we 3 minutes away? Are some people live? Am I just behind?
It's just not fair. It's not right. He didn't do anything wrong. It's just that he's an innocent bystander in all of this.
There we go. I was like, how am I behind? I'm not. Okay. Cool, 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 cool. It started. It started. It started. It's good to see y'all as well. We're live. We're live. Okay. Something, I guess something happened, but I've got the feed. I'm live. Yeah, that's what happened the last time. That's what happened last season. There were some people ahead of me, which is totally fine. We'll get to commercials when we get to commercials. But yeah, if y'all follow me on Twitch, let me know what your screen name is on Twitch, and I will definitely recognize you. We're on a different land. We're in a different land now. We're in the land of the tubes. That's okay. Starting off the season hot with Stone Cold. You have to. Season 3. Who else are we going to start off with, right? Look at his face. Stone Cold. That gold chain, he still has it. Wow. Hollywood Blondes, baby. Randall, who are you? I don't recognize your name. Kidding. Gotta rep this shirt.
Brian, from the time he first got in the ring, you could tell he was a performer. He was an exhibitionist. He wanted you to notice him. He had the personality for wrestling. I'm Jim Cornette. I've been involved in professional wrestling for over 40 years as a manager, promoter, announcer, matchmaker, and I was good friends in the 80s and 90s with Brian Pillman.
Gotta include his son. Yeah, that voice is iconic. Jim Ross lives in the city 25 minutes away from you? That's wild. Damn. I didn't know that.
Overcome, overachieve,
I didn't know that about his voice.
the son of a bitch was fearless. I mean, he was he's a tough nut. My name is Kim Wood. I was the Paul Brown strength coach for the Cincinnati Bengals, and Pillman
Look at that
interviewed me to
dog.
try out with us.
Look at that
My
dog.
instruction was to kill him, and not literally kill him, but damn close. But he tried his ass off.
You know, he always said it's not about the size of the dog in the fight, it's about the size of the fight and the dog.
He had a reputation in Cincinnati of being a street fighter.
I heard that he was at some bar that had a upper floor, like a balcony or whatever you want to call it. And he was up there and some girl threw a drink in his face. And her boyfriend came after Brian. Before it was over, the guy was hanging. Brian had him hanging by his ankles over the.
Not hanging by the ankles.
And Brian was banned from that bar.
After a brief stint in the NFL, Brian heads to Calgary.
Yeah, I didn't know he played for the Cincinnati Bengals as well.
Brian suffers an ankle injury, cutting his career,
That's wild.
which leaves him searching for what to
My dad loves the Bengals.
What I knew about Brian was that he wasn't going to be a high school himself. I think there was a lot of things he wasn't going to do. Where he could use his toughness and his physicality to make money.
Well, a couple years ago when I was with the Bengals, Kim Wood, the strength coach, he had talked to me about getting into professional wrestling. Thought I had all the tools needed to be successful. And it turns out Calgary happens to be the premier training ground for wrestlers in the world.
And I said, hey, while you're up there, go check out this Heart Bunch.
The Hearts are the first family
The Heart Bunch.
with patriarch Stu Hart at the helm.
What up, Tony? What up, Maria?
Wrestling icons, the family also discovered and trained several other future superstars. They take them into the hard dungeon, and they teach them how to wrestle in one of the most prestigious ways to break into the business that there is.
How would you sort of describe what the dungeon is for someone who doesn't know what it is?
Well, from what I hear, if you can't hear screaming coming out of it, something's not going right.
Stu, the old man, would put people in submission holes and then not let them out of the thing for 3 or 4 hours. If you could survive that, you could survive almost anything.
So you get that great foundation.
That's wild.
It was an easy bridge to cross.
I mean, we all know that, but like, imagine
Brian gets his start in stand
training like that.
Although it's a small territory in Western Canada, its influence on the industry is felt around the wrestling world.
In the 80s, there were millions of wrestling fans, but there was a small subset called smart fans that knew the inside inner workings of wrestling.
The insiders all knew the name Brian Pillman pretty quick. I'm Dave Meltzer, editor of the Wrestling Observer newsletter. It's an insider publication that's covered pro wrestling since 1982. For a long time, it was like really the only, what I would call true source of pro wrestling information that was out there.
The sheets were kind of a thing back in the day. You didn't really want to get caught with them. You know, it's kind of like secret documents. And then it kind of got out that damn near all the boys read.
I mean, with Brian, he had started wrestling when he called me the first time. And he wanted to send me tapes and wanted me to send tapes, so we traded tapes. As far as studying the game, I mean, top level, more than almost anyone that I've ever dealt with.
Meltzer was a good gauge for talent. So that tipped me off that Meltzer kept writing good things about Brian. Brian wound up in WCW by me getting a hold of you.
All right, Brian, best of luck on that endeavor, ladies.
Upon arriving in WCW, top
Flying Brian. Oh, Nancy.
Brian and looks to feature him on television in a main event spot.
And we put that match together, and it was one of the highest rated Saturday night television programs on TBS at that point in the previous several years. And the crowd popped for it. Ric Flair was the kind of guy that wanted to go in the ring with somebody like Brian and go 30 or 45 minutes and tear the house down, and then he wanted to go to the bar with Brian or somebody like Brian for 5 or 6 hours and tear the house down there. That's the way he lived. He lived a cartoon life, a fantasy life of limos and long black socks and alligator shoes and, babes.
I think Brian liked aspects of the lifestyle a lot. He wanted to be like Ric Flair.
Brian Pillman was a ladies' man. I mean, he's a gorgeous guy. He's on television. He's a professional athlete. So yeah,
That hair, though. He had a really good mullet.
Brian
Look at that cat.
Free for a while before he got the contract down in Atlanta. And that's when Brittany was born in Atlanta.
Oh.
My name is Brittany Pillman. I'm the daughter of Brian Pillman. I was a daddy's girl. You know, everyone sees him as this wrestler and always on the road, and, you know, wrestling was his life, but outside of wrestling, his children were his life. My dad thought I was his firstborn child. When I was a year old, he found out that he had another daughter out there that was 2 years old. I'm Danielle Pillman. I go by Danny, and Brian Pillman is my father, and I am the oldest of his kids. My dad met my mom at the waterfront in Cincinnati, like some bar. And I mean, it was like a very brief love affair, but she did end up becoming pregnant, that my dad had Rochelle as his girlfriend at the time. So yeah, that's kind of why she didn't want to disclose that to my father immediately. But at a certain point, she felt like, you know,
Wrestling mullet tier list.
and that I came into the
If there's
picture,
anybody who has to do that,
100% and wanted me
it's
to be
me.
in every part of his life. And I think that's something to be said about him, is that he really did care about his kids. You know, my dad living that lifestyle and all these different women, and, you know, he had obviously cheated on my mom many times. I'm sure that was hard on her, but she stayed with him, you know. She had a lot of issues. She suffered with major depression. There was a time my mom and dad were living in Atlanta, and my dad was at a show.
Oh.
Groundskeeper broke into the place and attacked her with an ice pick.
And she was stabbed several times.
Was he trying to rob her?
Rob her, whatever, I don't know. Stabbed her in the face, stabbed her in the cheek.
What?
So that'll mess you up.
Brian Pillman's good looks and athletic ability allow him a spot on the card as a generic hero. But he's not content to stay in one place for long, nor do what he's told.
He was reasonably successful, but you know he wanted to be a main eventer, and he wasn't a main eventer yet. He was a good mid-level guy. You know, Brian's first couple years in WCW were tough. I'm Eric Bischoff, former president of WCW.
It's Bischoff.
Brian Pillman's boss. Brian was relatively new on the scene his first couple years in WCW, so he had to earn his respect. What probably made that even tougher was the amount of management transitions that took place.
Constant changeover in management led to stop-and-start pushes in Brian's career. As soon as he started to gain ground and earn respect, new matchmakers would arrive, pushing Brian back down to the bottom.
But finally, they put Brian together with Steve Austin.
He's ready to back you up 100%.
All right.
Here we go.
And I wasn't thrilled at all.
When people hear the name Steve Austin, they think he was always the biggest star in wrestling. At the time,
WrestleMania 13.
he was still
Ugh.
finding his way, hadn't gotten
So good.
a main event spot yet.
And this is about when I'm fixing to start getting a run as the United States champion. So I was really looking forward to that. I walked in the building, and here's Brian coming up behind me. And I knew Brian, but we weren't hanging out. He goes, "Hey kid, we need to come up with a finish." And I said, "What the hell are you talking about?" He goes, "We're tag team now." And I was really not happy. I had nothing against Brian, but it's like I was a singles wrestler. I enjoyed working with another guy in the ring and only having to depend on myself.
Oh,
I didn't have no
he didn't want to be a tag team.
no this,
Fair.
no that. It was
Hi, Jason. How are you?
basically to get
I'm
because
happy to be doing this again. Thank you for doing another season. I'm glad
we were trying to make the most of this situation. Anytime that you start
y'all got it out. It's a great episode so far.
normally I'd be at the wheel. Brian would be riding shotgun, reading a dictionary or something because he was always trying to increase his vocabulary for promos. And began the pilgrimage out to Florida, cut through the bureaucratic.
Look at the way he's looking at him. Now it just makes sense. He just thinks he's a little shit. Kidding. Y'all, if you don't follow Dark Side of the Ring on socials, Twitter and Instagram, do it. Do it. Y'all better.
And I was thinking to myself, well, I ain't come up with a better
my God. Look at Austin.
Brian, he had that shit-eating grin or that laugh, you know, when you're getting heat on a baby face, and developed this bond and this chemistry. I love tag team wrestling once I figured it out.
I hate to say it this way because it sounds really corny, but they were made for each other because they complemented each other so well. They worked hard to make each other look good.
The Hollywood Blondes also gave Brian a chance to open up as a heel, as a bad guy.
People nowadays are like, oh, I love the Hollywood Blondes. But if you go back then, they were getting booed out the building. And you love to hate them.
Now you love them. Now they're just like they're like the cult classic favorites, right? It just grows on you.
Shake hands and kiss babies and smile. He wanted to be a smart ass. He wanted to be obnoxious. He wanted to show off.
He was getting better at what he does, getting global exposure, partying, having fun.
Brian's fast and loose lifestyle doesn't mix well with his turbulent situation at home, and he pursues yet another woman who enters his already complicated life.
I think Melanie was working in Atlanta. She was a showgirl.
He saw her picture in a penthouse or something and says, I'm going to marry that girl, and somewhere along the line he met her.
My dad was sleeping with Melanie behind my mother's back because he was always in Atlanta.
Melanie would call the house, and that's basically, I think, how Rochelle found out about it. You know, she was hurt because, you know, they had a nice home, the family was happy, but then he had this other life in Atlanta, and then Melanie became pregnant, and that's how he had Brian Jr.
After another unexpected pregnancy outside of their relationship, Brian and Rochelle split up. Shortly after, Brian proposes to his new girlfriend, Melanie.
We went to Vegas and he put on like a freaking St. Patrick's Day white tux with a big old ugly green bow tie. And I had a white dress, mind you. The stripper in a white dress. Yeah. And I had a big old green corsage on. And I loved it, every second of it. I wouldn't trade it for the world. My name is Melanie Pillman. I'm the widow of Brian Pillman. In private, like he's just more laid back and sensible acting. But he's one of the most intelligent men I've ever met in my life. Like, so well-read, and he just excelled at so many things. He was my soulmate. I mean, I couldn't have picked a better guy to love than him.
His first years with her, I thought he was very happy. It'd be a big thing with his Christmas card, because it would be him and the wife. And
I didn't know any of this.
Because I had my two kids, you know.
He would show up with like 3 or 4 little kids. They all had different mothers. They'd be climbing on him. He'd be carrying a couple, and one had his legs around his neck, and one was on the shoulder, and he loved those kids.
He was counted on, he was depended on to provide. That responsibility is what pushes you to keep going to work. You have to provide for your family.
Stunning Steve and Flying Brian.
And finally, they made the decision to give the Hollywood Blondes a big main event match. It was going to be on a Clash of Champions, and Ric Flair was returning. He was going to be involved. And the rating came in, and it wasn't very good. And they couldn't blame Flair because he was a big star, so they put the heat on Brian Pillman and Steve Austin. Well, the Hollywood Blondes didn't draw a rating. And that kind of doomed them there as being featured in a more prominent capacity going forward.
Felt like betrayal. I wish someone would finally tell me why the company decided to break us up, because we started getting over as a viable tag team that could hold, you know, world championship belts. We did. We make chicken shit into chicken salad. Now you wanna split us up with no real clear direction for either one of us. So breaking us up broke my heart.
Oh.
Any other talents that had been buried because they drew a bad rating. At the time, TBS was drawing a lot of bad ratings. But I think there was probably somebody that just thought, I don't want to use these guys, and they used that as an excuse.
How that was handled. I look back on it today and still shake my head that we could have done better.
I would say the period from 1990 to 1993, it was very frustrating for Brian. Also, there was some knowledge.
So much I want to say.
His home life was not as happy as it could be.
I felt like my dad allowed me to run the show. Melanie treated my mom very poorly. I feel like she was very jealous of my mother.
Melanie didn't like him talking to her. She didn't like me and my mother talking to Rochelle. You know, she made it she just caused trouble. And then Rochelle took off and didn't tell anybody where she was.
Rochelle is scheduled to see Brittany for a visit, but she never shows. No one is able to get a hold of her, resulting in a missing persons report. Several days later, when Rochelle finally surfaces, Brian and Melanie take decisive action.
And Brian said, and I agreed with him, and I shouldn't have. We should just file for custody. And that changed everything.
The custody battle started because Melanie didn't want Rochelle around. Basically, Brian had more money and could keep the attorneys paid because the attorneys only work when you pay them. And Rochelle just didn't have any more money.
I was, delivering stuff to the lawyer. I was bombarding her with these stupid things about returning past child support that she blew in Florida. Just little minutia that was making me feel like a better person, but really, in reality, I wasn't a better person. Nobody should try to take kids away from a mother. I should have never done that. In a million years, I would never do it again.
It just devastated Rochelle.
I was outside riding my bicycle one day.
God, these
When she
shots.
wasn't allowed to see me, and she came pulling up, and I just went running to her, and I was so happy to see her.
Rochelle was hugging her, and they thought she was taking her.
And here comes my dad, and it was just like this huge argument, and him pulling her away from me.
Melanie filed kidnapping charges against Rochelle.
And so my dad had got full custody of me, and in my mom's mind, she was just like, I'm going to lose my daughter, and I'm never going to see her again. And so my mom called my dad's house, and she wanted to talk to my dad, but he was out of town. Melanie had answered, and Melanie told her, she said, even your own mother thinks I would be a better mother for your daughter than you'll ever be. And my mom called my grandma.
She called her mother and told her mother what she was going to do. And then she shot herself. As I got the call to go to the hospital, because she was being airlifted, and I was the closest, and I was the one at the hospital that they told, and then I had to tell everybody that she was gone. She died on the helicopter. So I had to call her mother and tell her mother. Oh, it was very hard to tell somebody's mother that their child was dead.
It just destroyed Brian because he felt so responsible. I mean, he just was so upset. He cried and he cried. He said, do you think it was all that pressure we put on? I think it was, Mel. I'd be like, yeah, it probably was. So Brian, he wanted to pay for her whole funeral and everything.
And at the funeral, he held it together until they closed the casket. And he lost it. He was hugging me and sobbing. And in fact, at one point, I kind of looked at him because I thought he was going to pass out. He was devastated. He was devastated.
I felt so guilty for that for years. And I think I drove her, well, maybe not just me, but I think incidents drove her to shoot herself. Rethinking it, I wouldn't have done it the same way. Nobody should have to fight for their kid. I mean, it wasn't like she was abusing her, so I don't really know what my problem was back then. It was devastating. And I know it was for Brittany.
I have a lot of anger built up towards my dad in a sense because I do wish that he would have, allowed my mom to at least see me because maybe she would still be here today. I don't know. She had a lot of issues, but Melanie was the overall cause. She's an evil person, and she's always been that way. Melanie should have never said those words to my mom. She's literally the devil, and they say, you reap what you sow. And now she's living a life that she should have already been dead years ago because of all the drugs that she's done. But I feel like she's going to live to be 100 years old and absolutely miserable for all the pain and suffering that she has my brother and, you know, my Aunt Linda.
Also, her hair is green.
And
Just want to point that out.
He's the one that, you know,
Dark Side of Football.
I don't know how to make it up to.
What?
I don't really know how to make it up to. I wish I could.
The guilt of Rochelle's death weighs heavily on Brian.
Hey, sis, thanks for the watch along. What? Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that. How are you, Carter?
Brian is determined to renegotiate for even more money.
When we talk business, it's like I have 5 kids. I don't know how many more years I can do this because my body's falling apart. I have to make big money now because I've got 5 kids.
This was his shot. He talks with Bischoff, that was evidently doing the contracts there. And Bischoff says to him, expect about what you're getting now.
He was pretty happy that I got him back to 225, but I think he wanted 4 is the number that he was really wanting. I couldn't give it to him. I couldn't justify it at the time that he wanted it.
He came to me and he says, what do I do? And what I told him was this. It's a question of value. When everybody's using everybody else, what can you do that other people can't do? What can you do that gains notoriety? This thing runs on attention. It runs on very superficial things. We got to create attention. How can we do that in the position you're in?
With his pulse on the wrestling landscape, Brian knew that he had to find a way to up the ante in order to shock even the most hardcore of fans.
Brian knew if he could make people legitimately believe that he was a loose cannon, that he was nuts, he was off his rocker, he was capable of doing anything or saying anything at any time, that he could be one of the hottest guys in the wrestling industry.
It was a pure money deal. What do we really want? Bischoff to offer you a hell of a lot more money. And we want Vince McMahon to see that you are of value and offer you more. And then you flip a coin.
If he could play one side against the other in the middle of the burgeoning wrestling war, then he would
Yeah.
come out much better, 6 figures per year better. And that's what he set about to do.
Ooh, our first commercial break, I feel. Right? Is that our first commercial break? I think so. I think so. What do we think so far? Am I right? Am I right? That's pretty, like, mind-blowing. I knew that, so, like, before this, I guess I knew Brian Pillman had a complicated love life, if you will. As any wrestler or musician or actor, anybody in love, really, right? We all just have complicated love lives. His was on another level. And that's just really sad. Lot of heavy stuff. Yeah, well, it's not light side of the ring, right? So it's gonna be pretty heavy. But you know, just a friendly reminder. We're all happy that you're here. You are loved. All that good stuff. Please remember to take care of your mental health. It is 10 times more important than your physical health. And not 10 times more important, but it's just as important as your physical health, I guess, if you will. And just like, you know, all that good stuff. Make sure, you know, you reach out if you can. But, yeah, that makes me really sad. That's just really sad. It's all heavy stuff, but we all pretty much kind of knew what we were signing up for this season, right? Man. So, Hollywood Blondes. I didn't know that Austin didn't like Brian to begin with. I didn't know that. I knew that they were together, and I knew that they weren't very lovable. They weren't very over, but no, episode 1 is on right now, tonight. Episode 1 was on YouTube, but that was the first half of the episode. That was hour 1. This is a 2-hour premiere. Yeah, complicated love life. That's how you gotta do it, right? Hi, Ryan. A lot of sad stories in wrestling. A lot of sad stories. But you just gotta give it up for the crew at this show because, like, dude, the shots in this show, just the way that they tell their stories in this show is so unique. It's so original, and it's all like stories that, like, oh yeah, we've kind of heard this story, but we haven't really heard like the in-depth story. So kind of wild. Oh, I was like, what is happening in this commercial? There's a commercial about something. Damn. Vice got some pretty wild shows. Also, Dark Side of Football? What the heck? Is OJ Simpson gonna be the first one for that? That would be wild. That'd be pretty wild. But I can't wait. Yeah, I can't wait till the other episodes as well. This episode's pretty good so far. We're 30 minutes in. We have an hour and 30 left. And it's pretty wild. Learning a lot of stuff about Brian Pillman Jr. that I really did not know, especially his love life. Now he's about to go into WWE. Let's click back.
As the WWF and WCW are engaged in a ratings battle, Bryan exploits this to his advantage by playing them off each other while driving up his own value.
Brian came up with the loose cannon idea and started slowly integrating it into television appearances. Bobby Heenan was the color commentator. Bobby had had a broken neck, and he'd had surgery, and he was very protective of his neck. And Brian goes around behind Bobby and starts grabbing him by the shoulders and everything. And on live television, Bobby says, "What the f*** are you doing? Easy." And then Brian knew he got it. He got gold out of it, right? Because now everybody's going to be talking about the F-bomb that got dropped on Turner Broadcasting. Bobby thought Brian was nuts. I think the brain is left.
It seemed real to the point where people were confused whether it was real or not.
One of the guys he was involved with was Kevin Sullivan, who was the booker, the matchmaker. Oh my goodness, they got a fight going on here.
You know, they just beat the hell out of each other. And when Brian Pillman was ready to quit, when it was time for him to leave, it was like, I respect you, Booker Man.
Yeah, I respect you, Booker Man.
The mere fact that he was acknowledging on national television that Kevin Sullivan was a head writer of a wrestling show
Before the click.
had never been done before.
Those that knew, and those that didn't know would need to find out what a Booker Man meant.
He was a big
Before the curtain call, too. So that's a bigger deal.
about exposing the business. When you're acting out a storyline that's considered a work, and a lot of the boys backstage weren't really sure if this was real or if this was a work.
The wrestling locker rooms had never been invaded that way before.
Because he knew if the other wrestlers believed it was real, then they would tell the newsletter editors, wow, that guy's really nuts, and the word would travel.
I thought, this is going down bad. Brian's getting fired.
Oh, he was smart.
Anyway, so I think he's completely lost his mind. You know, he's not even talking to me anymore.
The smart fans were starting to figure out that wrestling is manipulated, it's choreographed, it's predetermined. That guy's nuts, and he's real, and he won't do what they tell him. And that sells tickets because you had no idea what or whether it was supposed to happen or not. He was convincing people that he was insane.
Not only were the fans ready to be fooled, but all the wrestlers were, the management people were. There was a whole bunch of people that you could play like a violin.
Brian, I'd like to know. No, I'm not nervous. I'm not nervous at all.
Hey, should be. I don't think anybody, for sure, at any given moment, knew if or not they were really being worked on.
Dude, Brian Pillman's character is just like any weirdo you would encounter in New York City, honestly.
Brian says to Eric Bischoff,
It's great stuff.
and then I bust out on TV the week afterwards, and people will know that this has just gone out of control.
The people in the office, the bookkeepers, whatever, if they see that I'm still under contract, they're going to tell Dave. Even everyone's going to know that it's all a work. So you have to really fire me.
If you give me this legitimate termination letter, then I can show it to everybody. And I can say, look what the guy did. Can you believe this? Can you believe he fired me?
He did. He gave him a release.
So he was then free to negotiate with Vince McMahon and the WWF against Eric Bischoff and WCW so he could get a better deal. All because Bischoff thought that he was working with Bryan to create this illusion, and Bryan was actually working Bischoff to create his own illusion.
Wow.
Dude, I mean, how do you do that? I don't know anybody else that ever did that. Yeah, scrub a genius.
I mean, it was a legitimate termination, but it was a legitimate termination with a wink and a nod. I said, Bryan, go to WWF. I can't give you what you want. Get yourself over there so that when you come back, and I promise you I will bring you back, it'll give me the ability to pay you more because you've raised your own value.
In his world, it's his stunt.
Is it the iconic? Does he have the Weapon X shirt?
Pulling the great stunt, even though he was the power to begin with.
It's the real story I want to know.
That the loose cannon character was designed to manipulate me into giving Brian Pillman more money, when in fact Brian Pillman and I discussed how to make this character work even better so that at some point I could give him the money. It kind of flies in the face of the rumors and the innuendo.
Oh man, that's the greatest thing you can do. If you
Which one do you buy?
over and have them think that it's a great idea, that's, I mean, that's the trick of breaking up with a woman. Make her think that it's her idea.
As a free agent, Bryan takes charge of his own appearances and publicity.
Yeah, right? Pillman was playing Battleship while everyone else was playing checkers.
Solidifies his position as the ultimate ringmaster.
In the wrestling war layout at the time, the fans knew one thing. If you are really working for one promotion, you can't appear for any of the others.
Tonight will be one of the most extreme hours of wrestling. Hey, wait a minute.
Ooh.
WCW hated ECW, so Bryan must be on the outs with WCW.
Renegade promotion ECW is gaining traction
God.
pushing the boundaries of wrestling and is the perfect
That's exciting. Like something like that around the 90s when you just don't know. No internet stuff.
is each and every one of these mother sparked marks rolled up into one giant piece of shit. I thought Bryan was losing his mind as opposed to being, brilliant.
I loved it. I was just nothing but entertained by it. Damn near whipped it out, was going to piss in the ring. That's a pretty strong statement. And pardon my language, I'm like, man, this motherfucker's out there. I mean that in a good way.
Get him the hell out of here.
This stuff was working on both levels. The fans who weren't inside, they just thought that he was crazy and he was doing wild over-the-top things. But for the fans who did know the inside terminology or were with the secrets, they were like, they can't be allowing him to do that. When he would have a television appearance,
That was kind of cool.
arranged so that it didn't look like he was supposed to be there, or he was doing something he wasn't supposed to be doing. One time, he even to protest the matches that he'd been given, he wrestled a giant pencil.
There we go.
In inside wrestling knowledge was another name for the booker.
I always end up fighting with the pencil.
And then he's showing up and doing these funny little vignettes. He's got when he's cooking and flames are going out of the frying pan. And they hired a woman with a baby. And then the guy comes to punch Pillman and he grabs the baby and holds the baby up in front. And
You scum, you piece of...
And I never once called Bryan and said, hey, dude, are you working? You shoot? Because I didn't want to know. But I thought what he was doing was damn sure brilliant.
Some people think my dad was crazy.
Iconic picture.
People are like, your dad was, not crazy. That was just a gimmick. And a lot of people say he kind of fell into that. Like they couldn't decipher if it was, is this Bryan Pillman now, or is he still in character, or is this just how he is?
It's all just their perception of reality.
It was just like this blur.
Genius.
Like, what is actually going on? Like, you don't even know anymore. But that was like the magic of it.
There was a lot of Andy Kaufman in Bryan. The loose cannon became Bryan. That was who he was.
Bryan was a renegade. Bryan was a little bit of an outlaw.
Love Andy Kaufman.
When you're not the biggest dog of the litter, and you got that gravelly voice, you've had 30 plus throat operations, and you're a small child, you get an attitude. said this many times. The greatest wrestlers I've ever worked with are essentially natural, organic extensions of their own personality. And the loose cannon was just that.
I think the message that Brian showing up in ECW sent to the other two companies is he's a free agent, that he was a gunslinger and he'd go to the highest bidder.
Vince is watching this. It's the hottest thing in wrestling. The only one that really knew what was going on was Dave Meltzer. I said, hey, we have to tell Meltzer. I value his friendship more than I value, any of this shit.
Something happened. I called up Kim and I go, oh God, Brian's in trouble. He just goes, Brian's doing this. He's come up with a character and he got to work everybody. Brian goes, what do I do with Dave? And he goes, you don't talk to Dave, because if you tell him, then he's gonna have to say it, because that's his role, and I don't want you lying to him. So literally, like, he didn't talk to me for a couple of months there. Yeah, without a doubt, he wanted to fool me with the character, and he did for a while.
And again, who are the real marks? Who are the ultimate marks? Bischoff, and then we got Vince.
Vince McMahon was then, as he is now, the undisputed leader, ruler, manipulator, organizer.
That's one hell of a quote.
What do you think of Vince at that point?
Vince?
Yeah, you personally.
Yeah, what do you know what you do with a whore? That's what I thought of Vince. That's all I think of Vince.
As Brian becomes the talk of the wrestling world, it's time for the final step.
Well, damn.
Track down and secure the attention of wrestling's biggest power player.
Ooh, we got another commercial break, y'all. What? What do we think? What do we think? That's crazy. Okay, so I'm not too familiar with his ECW stuff, so to see some of the footage was kind of wild. Didn't know about him wrestling a pencil. That is genius. That's genius. That's genius. That's like grade A comedy bits he is throwing out back then. What? Like, ahead of his time. Ahead of his time. That's his gimmick, like the stuff that he was doing in the stuff that he was doing in ECW, you could easily find now on Twitch or on YouTube, or wrestlers that were doing like BTE, right? Some of that stuff, like those early day BTE stuff. That's wild. That's wild. I just feel like that's like what he was doing there is it's like stuff that you could just easily find on social media nowadays. Like, that's so wild. Yeah, that quote was pretty epic. That quote was pretty wild. That was Lulu Pimple's mom. Was it the New Jersey baby? That's what we're all wondering. It is definitely a roller coaster ride of emotions, for sure. Kenny wrestling a little girl. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he kind of is. I can't lie. He kind of is. Series, they said it's really hard to get actors who look like and are the same size as the wrestlers the episodes are about. Well, if they think it's hard, they're doing an excellent job, to be honest, because I'm not gonna lie, whoa. I'm gonna leave that comment to myself. I saw something familiar. Nothing big. What was I gonna say? Oh, the Ric Flair in this episode is a little wonky. I'm not gonna lie. The Ric Flair in this episode is a little tiny bit wonky. I mean, you kind of can't tell because it really just depends. Like, it's all about like the silhouette, right? And especially with someone like Ric Flair wearing the robe, all you care about is the silhouette of the robe. And anyone that wears it has that silhouette of Flair. But yeah, I mean, it's not always going to be perfect. They're not always going to look exactly like the person. Like the Montreal Screwjob one, like that's Shawn Michaels. I was a pretty busted up Shawn Michaels, I'm not going to lie. But it's still good. It's still good. There's no worries. It's still an amazing show. It is shot so beautifully, so well done. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It almost doesn't matter. I would definitely say next commercial break, I will actually take a BRB screen. And while we are BRBing and while we're on a commercial break right now, go follow Dark Side of the Ring on Instagram and on Twitter. Please and thank you. Please go do that. I mean, oh, we're back. Never mind.
Brian Pillman plots to get the attention.
We're back.
Insider industry trade show in Las Vegas, the last place anyone would expect to see the loose cannon.
Okay, so I'm in Vegas. I was in there and I was leaving. And Brian's coming, and Brian's in full gimmick at this point. And then I see him, hey Dave, whatever. I'm leaving. He goes, can I get your credential? And I go, yeah, here's my credential. And he went in and makes a beeline for Jim Ross and Vince McMahon.
He had an idea to be the most outrageous, outlandish, over-the-top character that Vince McMahon had ever met. He's going to try to get Vince McMahon's attention.
Doing his whole Brian Pillman, hey Vince, hey, let's take a picture.
Vince McMahon, mother God almighty.
Chris, the greatest thing in the world. I got a chance to meet you. And they get their arm around me. Somebody takes the picture.
And Vince is
Where's the picture?
He made an impression. You didn't know whether he was a homicidal maniac or just
Is that the picture?
McMahon thought, we can't hire this guy, JR. We can't hire this guy, JR. He's crazy. I said, he's crazy like a fox. What do you mean? Well, he told me what he was going to do. He did? Yeah, he's creative. He's bold. He's kind of like you are, Vince. He'll take a chance. Brian's balls at that point in that day would probably fit in a wheelbarrow.
And dude, when you work Vince McMahon, you know, especially back in the day, pretty good rib. It got his attention too. It was pretty freaking genius, is what he was doing.
But
Yeah.
in WCW, because WWF didn't offer guaranteed money, and also Vince was always pushing the bigger guys. So Brian always felt that WCW was his company and the company he would do the best in anyway. People go like, oh, he did this manipulation of his contract to go to WWF. No, he did the manipulation of his contract to be able to negotiate with WWF to raise his money with WCW.
Brian's bold plan is a success as he is in negotiations for major contracts with both WCW and WWF. All he has to do is choose the right path.
It didn't matter, like, if where he wound up. It was just
No! It's money! It's the bottom line! Money! And these people are in fantasy land. It is money. The only problem is, like the Hebrew saying, man plans and God laughs.
We're talking, and it's always about, I gotta save money, and then he buys an $80,000 Humvee. I couldn't fathom the idea of, I got 5 kids, I've got to make money now, I've got to save money, and then buying a Humvee.
He would drive that wherever Brian wanted to drive that. He didn't want to sit at the stoplight. He drove down a gully and up the other side in the he didn't, follow the rules.
I was actually in Miami modeling, but I called to check on the kids. And the neighbor across the street, I called her because I didn't get an answer. And she said, my God, I just passed the Hummer and little Brian's car seat's out in the middle of the yard and big Brian's being flown to the hospital.
What?
And she called to tell me that Brian had an accident and it was bad.
What? happened?
to University Hospital, and was in the emergency room. So I was the lucky one to go to the hospital, and I thought, oh Jesus, here we go again.
When I got to the hospital, I walked right by the room. And then Linda's like, that's his room, Melanie. I'm like, that's not my husband. She's like, I know, it doesn't look like him, does it?
Because his hair was red with all the blood, and they hit him in a neck brace.
What?
Was swelled up like a beach ball. And I thought, oh my God.
It was really bad. His eyes were red, like, I didn't see any color than red, like blood. His eyes were just, ugh.
He had 6 different doctors for his face. There's one that just does the forehead,
Damn.
the lower mandible, the upper mandible, the nose, the eye sockets. Everything in his face was shattered. They had to put plates in his face.
Oh
and
my God.
peeled his scalp back to make the incision and peeled his face down to put the plates in.
Word travels quickly that Brian has been in a terrible car accident, and there's talk of him losing a foot.
His ankle was shattered. In fact, the nurse told me that it was just like hanging off the table. She had to pick it up to put it back on the table.
Oh, that visual.
And then the doctor said,
Oh, that visual.
use it into a walking position that he wouldn't probably be able to run or even wrestle again.
I show up, and he goes, I said, don't talk, Brian, it's all right. Hey, I'm with you, I'm with you. I'm thinking, holy I don't know. And then he's got a tight
This guy.
He's got things holding his legs together.
And once he kind of gained consciousness, like, what was his reaction to the accident?
I remember him crying in the hospital, just saying, I really messed up. I really messed up. Because he thought, his career was over. And I said, just be grateful you were by yourself. There was no kids in the car. It'll be fine.
I mean, yeah.
But
To
he
be
was
honest.
crying, saying, I really messed up.
So, to the best of your knowledge, what took place with the accident? What happened? What happened to Brian?
Oh, he fell asleep at the wheel. He had been up, and he went and picked up some of his medication, and I guess it hit him too soon before he got back to the house. And yeah, he just drove into a tree trunk off the side, and it threw the Humvee, totaled the Humvee.
Was there also maybe, like, was there substance issues with him at the time too?
No, just those muscle relaxers. Maybe a few pain pills.
But we are turning the microphone over to you, sir. We don't need any police reports or doctor reports. Can you tell us in your own words what happened?
70 miles per hour, and I instantly became Evil Knievel. Shot up in the air, then proceeded to come straight down, nose first, and luckily for me, I didn't have a seatbelt on because it shot me straight out, and I pierced the convertible top of that vehicle with my head like a bullet.
Jesus.
50 feet away from the vehicle, it ended up doing 2 end-over-end flips.
Oh, my word.
When he came home from the hospital, I do remember him being in the living room, and I had a gift, and I wanted to give it to him, and I was just terrified because I'm like, that's not my dad. I don't know who that is. As a child and seeing my father like that, I think it just kind of freaked me out a little bit.
Yeah.
I do have some small memories there of just seeing those bolts and how they're just screwed into his leg, and I'm thinking, what's going on here? And it's like they look like they're greased up, but it's like, and not grease, but it's like blood, and like just it's all hardened, and it's just it was just a wild sight to see. Some rusty bolts sticking out of your dad's leg.
Yeah, my dad had to get some pretty gnarly surgery like that.
Being like so exhausted, and
I know exactly how that is.
really understand like what was really going on with him, and like how ragged his life had become.
no wreck, and it was Brian working again. And they're just trying to figure out what the angle is. How does he expect to get more money out of this, or more attention out of this? Or, you know, was it really a wreck, or maybe he just ran his car off the road?
Damn, people thought he was faking it. Oh no.
He had created so much, not only mystery, but confusion about himself that even the guys that were his friends weren't exactly sure how to take him.
Perhaps he would have done that for attention. And then Kim, who would not work me, Kim is just like, no, it's real. And I told people it's real. And then, I think most people didn't believe me either. He was, there's the Andy Kaufman thing in him, faking an auto accident. Perhaps he would have done that for attention.
There was even at one point a rumor that some of the wrestlers put out that he was having plastic surgery to look just like Shawn Michaels so he could go into the World Wrestling Federation and be the evil Shawn Michaels and fight him for the title.
Oh my God.
They thought Brian was nuts.
While the wrestling rumor mill is speculating the authenticity of the accident, media outlets also question Brian's intentions.
Brian, now you're not having plastic surgery and, going to go into the WWF as Shawn Michaels' twin or something. I don't know what goes on America Online.
Think about that statement.
It's preposterous, but just...
Right now, I am owner of 4 steel titanium plates bolted to my face to hold everything together. I look like Brian effing Pillman with a swollen face and black eyes.
I can look back and Brian was pretty honest with me most of the time, but the one where I know that he wasn't was right after the accident. And Brian, said like, oh yeah, the doctors told me, it's like, it's going to take a while, but I will be 100%. The doctors have told me, and I know that the doctors told him the exact opposite.
The wreck happened during the negotiations. He kept it pretty quiet how badly he was hurt. And if the real story of that wreck had come out at that point, I don't think he would have got a contract from either company. He could never again do physically what he had been able to do before. And he didn't want anybody to know that.
The object was to play Vince for money. And he did. Only he was near dead when he did. Vince signed him. And he signed him for more money.
Vince McMahon
He got
offers
signed.
Brian a guaranteed 3-year contract. And although Eric Bischoff offers him more money, his deal is subject to be renegotiated every 3 months.
Brian knew at that point, because of the extent of the injury, that if he had an out clause in a contract, that at some point fairly early it was going to get exercised.
The events that have taken place in my life just in the past 8 weeks have really changed the future of my life. And from going from a point not knowing if I was going to live or not to standing here signing a contract with the World Wrestling Federation, it's a dream come true.
What changed about Brian coming into our company at that time? Well, he's not going to be able to wrestle to any degree or even comparably to what he was.
Although Brian is still
That's
in
so
rehabilitation
sad.
from his injuries, he officially joins the WWE
Stone Cold!
in 1996 with the loose cannon persona already in full force.
There's Brian Pillman. What's he doing, Brian?
That's wild to know. That's, oh my God, I can't wait for commercial break.
And like, okay, let's see what he can do here in the land of, WWF.
Right.
They'll let you go out there and push the envelope, but how strong is he? Can he do it? And I would have, if I was going to bet on Brian, I'm like, oh yeah, if he could just get healed up, he's going to go right to the top.
I'm gonna rape, pillage, and plunder this entire federation!
When Brian came home, he still had an IV. And he unhooked himself from the IV, go do the show, and then come back and hook himself back up again. He had to do that because of work. So then it wasn't fun for him anymore. I don't think he enjoyed it anymore.
That was what I consider the beginning of the end.
Whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. My mind is a little blown by all that. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, that's kind of wild. I don't even know where to begin. So, okay. Before this, knew of Brian Pillman, right? I didn't know that. Because I remember, like, seeing him in, like, the cane and the crutches, and then even the infamous promo where he pulls out the gun. He's in a wheelchair, right? Right? Am I remembering that right? I'm not too sure. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not too sure. But I do remember seeing him in the crutches, but I guess... Did he have a match? No, he had a match. No, he's had matches in the WWE. That's dumb. He did have matches in the WWE. But I guess I never, like, put it together that the injury was real. Him and those crutches were real. So that's kind of wild. Whoa. My mind is a little blown. Because I didn't know he got into that accident. Because I actually don't really know the way he died. Which is a good thing. Good thing we're watching this episode, right? But I don't think I really know how he died. I assumed that the car accident that they just talked about was the way that he died. Because I think, like, growing up, I remember, like, oh, he died. And he died, like, what was it, like, right after the infamous promo, the gun promo. So I thought, like, he was gone because of that, or I guess he died. I don't know, whatever. But I guess in my head, I just, like, assumed that the car accident was his death and not everything before that. That's pretty wild. What do we think? Yeah, that's M2J. I was just thinking back. I was like, I don't remember him having matches, right? Because if it was not signed 96, he definitely was not having matches in 96. And then I was thinking, like, wait, has he ever had a match at all in the WWF? Like, WWE? Like, did he ever wrestle? But he did, because he wrestled in Canadian Stampede, the In Your House Canadian Stampede. He wrestled in that. So it's just like, wait, am I just not remembering that he wrestled? Yeah, I guess he just didn't wrestle because of his injury. Wild stuff. So wild. I've never realized his injury was as bad as that during the Stone Cold feud. I just thought he had a broken leg. Yeah, I guess I also assumed that he had a broken leg as well. I didn't think the injury was that bad either. And crazy to think that people thought he was so crazy back then. So insane that people were just like, oh, he's just getting plastic surgery to get Shawn Michaels' face for a storyline. What if they actually pulled that off? That would have been my favorite storyline of all time. Do y'all realize that? But yeah, it's pretty wild. Pretty wild that he was, like, deemed that insane. Oh, we're back. We're back, folks.
With his crippling injuries, an upcoming surgery keeps him out of any in-ring action. To disguise this from fans, the WWF devises a shocking storyline involving his old tag team partner.
Here we go.
Something to get some heat. Cincinnati in his hometown, so it's always great to attack somebody in their hometown, especially him being in a compromised position.
Steve and Brian were still friends, and they still wanted to see each other succeed. Steve was still on his way up, so we decided to put them together because we thought that they would enjoy it, and at the same time, the people would enjoy it as well.
I laid into him and started kicking the hell out of him.
Hi, Scotty.
His ankle, that brass duck head flew into the crowd. I stomped a mud hole in his ass and walked it dry. That was a stiff beating I gave him because it had to be. My character was a vicious, cold-blooded guy who was ruthless and remorseless.
Yeah.
So had I not given him the beating
body part.
Brian took that ass whooping like a damn man. He knew what I had to do, and he sold it like $1,000,000.
In the midst of a TV ratings war with
Wow.
WCW, Vince strives to produce edgier content to further capitalize on the feud between Pillman and Austin.
Somehow they decided, and I was not consulted on this, but they decided that it would be a wonderful thing if they did a remote.
Okay, no. He had the cast. Okay, he wasn't in the wheelchair.
Austin is outside of Brian Pillman's home. Steve Austin came to find him.
But here we go.
Stage a home invasion on Monday Night Raw. Austin tried to get into the house.
I remember watching this live.
Something that felt so real and gritty at times.
I always want to do something that feels real and gritty, especially something that's going to have the, you know,
I remember watching this live and I was like, dude, Austin's dead.
hell, man, if you're just casually, if you're not a wrestling fan and you're kind of just flipping channels and all of a sudden you watch this 10 seconds of this scene, you're not going to change the channel.
Right.
Is a dead man walking, because when Austin 316 meets Pillman, 9mm look at him blast his shirt in, straight
Kevin Kelly, like, oh my God.
Bashing in that window with that aluminum baseball bat. And there's melon in there.
Dude.
Shrieking.
I remember Vince was like, all right, we're going to have a Stone Cold, and y'all just wing it from there.
Nothing like that had ever been done before in wrestling. It was kind of groundbreaking.
So wild.
In a good way or a bad way. People weren't ready for it. They weren't ready for it. The reaction was pretty negative to it. I mean, it was pretty darn negative. I didn't like it. I didn't like the idea of, like, you know, using a gun, and it seemed going really extreme, but that's the direction wrestling went. Oh my God, he's back! That's Brian. You know, I don't know whose idea it was and how much input he had on the idea. He never really told me that, but he was absolutely really into it. And they had to apologize for it the next week because
Yeah.
you know, Vince had to actually go on television and apologize for that angle.
I remember that.
So much negativity.
And on behalf of the
I remember that.
for those of you who were offended,
Yep.
we humbly apologize for the incident that took place last Monday
Yep.
night on Raw.
And I think that's the only angle Vince ever apologized for.
While still recovering from the car wreck, Pillman is temporarily sidelined as a broadcast announcer.
Yeah, I'm going to cut through all your duplicit rhetoric and cut right to the chase. Tell them like it is. And hey, if the censors don't like it, you're going to get fired. Not me. I'm Brian Pillman. I'll just go somewhere else.
I thought I was watching an episode of Cops.
It's less than. It's not being a man. When I said, look, you can make a great living, you can take care of your health, he didn't want to hear it. Only thing he wanted to hear was me to encourage him that you can come back and be what you were, or really, really close to it. And I never told him that because I've been lying.
You know, the competitor in him wanted just to get back in the ring and work. And he was working matches, but he was in a lot of pain.
The former Cincinnati Bengal has had 2 major surgeries on his leg.
Even though he was able to sometimes have decent matches, just because he was smart enough to know how, and he would fall on his face, do things that were dangerous in a different way, but not hurt the body parts that were hurt. It was really sad to watch. You know, he wasn't the same at all.
Brian needed to stay medicated more often than he should because of the pain he was in, because he was doing things that he shouldn't have been doing.
Ooh.
Made it through because he'd say, oh, I'm okay. I'm good. I'm fine. He wasn't fine.
Consistently performing well beyond what his body can handle, Brian's dependency on painkillers and the pressure to provide for his family is pushing him to the point of no return.
Oh my God. Oh my gosh. Okay. Insane. I can't wait till we get back. Okay, I'm gonna take a quick bathroom break. All right. Entertain yourselves in the chat. Let me know what you think about the episode so far. I really want to know. I'll stay on a little bit longer after the show and we'll talk more. But yeah, I'm just really sad. Oh man. Okay, BRB, y'all. I'm back. Don't worry.
Brian never told me was that if he had an ache or a pain, he took a pill. He said if it didn't go away, he took another one. And then he took a pill till it went away. He was sick, physically sick, with infection in his ankle because he was going to shows and not recouping it properly.
I would talk to guys in WWF, and they would tell me how he couldn't get through the airport. You know what I mean? Couldn't walk through the airport, and he's out there taking bumps in a wrestling ring. It's like he cannot walk through the airport.
Whoa.
Kind of walking around with his suitcase, and he wasn't moving so well. But Brian was one of those guys, and like a man's man, you just figure, whatever it is, Brian's got it. He's Brian Pillman. You know, and I could have seen the writing on the wall, but because of the regard that I held him in, thought it was going to be just fine.
When you have wrestlers that are missing shows or obviously unable to perform when they get there, then you know you've got problems. It wasn't that obvious with Brian. And how were you able to tell where the loose cannon ended and the real person began?
How was your guys' relationship?
We had some problems. We were having problems because he kept wrecking rental cars. He was definitely like nodding out at the wheel. He was definitely having issues. He acted as though he wasn't going to be around much longer. He used to say things like, if anything happens to me, make sure you move back to Atlanta and don't stay up here if you're not comfortable here. And make sure you find somebody so the kids have a father. I'm like, why would you even say something like that? And then the next day he wrecked a rental car.
I had become a bit estranged from him because he was up. And one time he came to my house and he had a big welt. You could see the hole. It was like a, you know, the syringe. It was a horse needle syringe that went in there. It was growth hormone or something. But he was up. He was like, he kept repeating himself. And I said, this is it, Brian. I'll give you to 10. Get the out of my house. My kids are upstairs sleeping. Don't ever come here in this state. Oh, yeah, but I got to do that. I said, no, I can't. I'm sorry. You're a friend. But get the away from me right now. And he did.
Some of his friends had come to me when I was in charge of talent relations and say that this is becoming a bigger issue and I needed to intervene. And it was going to be tough because he was not going to appreciate that intervention. I called the agent, lead agent, and I said, you know, I'm going to have a drug tester there tonight, test Pillman. And I said, make sure it gets done. He felt like I had betrayed him. That's what he told me. I can't believe you of all people would betray me. And that you always had my back. You're always there for me. And now this. I said, Brian, I'm trying to save your life. That's all I'm trying to do.
And Brian just called me up. I hate Jim Ross. Why is he singling me out? You know how many guys in this company are doing drugs? And he goes, they're not going to find anything on me. Nothing but my prescription pain pills. They're not going to find any illegal drugs in me. And in fact, you know, the only thing that they found in him was prescription pain drugs and steroids, which, you know, in an extent, you know, I don't know that that really counts for what they were looking for.
I had to lead Brian out of the path that he was on to no avail. I failed. I needed to convince him that he's so talented that he was going to be a star in other areas of pro wrestling. I failed.
In October of 1997, at the Kiel Center in St. Louis, Missouri, Brian is scheduled to compete at WWF's pay-per-view event, Bad Blood.
In those days, the call time for talent at the pay-per-views was 1 o'clock. And sometimes guys would be late, oversleep, miss their flight, traffic, whatever. But by 5 o'clock, Brian. And that was egregiously late to be for a pay-per-view. So Bruce Pritchard asked me, I'm in talent relations. He said, try to find where he might be. Call the hotel where he stayed last night in Minneapolis, see what time he checked out. I get on the phone and boom, the guy answers. I said, I'm with the World Wrestling Federation. We're looking for one of our wrestlers. He stayed there last night, Brian Pillman. Can you tell me what time he checked out? And the guy said, hold on a second. put me on hold. Okay. Is he checking his records? And he answered, he says, sir? I said, yeah. He said, Mr. Pillman's dead. And the first flash that I had, what is Brian doing now? I said, is this a rib? And the guy said, no, the police are here now. I said, okay. So I told one of the production assistants, I said, go get Bruce. And he said, oh, Bruce is busy. He's doing that. I said, Brian is dead. Go get Bruce. And Bruce came in and got on the phone, and I just kind of walked off because I did not want to hear that news right now. 23 years later, I didn't want to hear that news.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh, that's heavy. How we doing? How we doing, folks? Let's throw some hearts up in the chat. How about that? Let's throw some hearts up in the chat. I think we all need it. Let's throw some hearts up. Hold on one second. There we go. Because, oh my goodness. Yeah, I didn't know. I mean, well, yes. Okay, so I did know that he died. A lot happened during that pay-per-view. That was also Kane's debut. That was the first Hell in a Cell, and this happened. It's so sad. It's so sad. It's so sad. Because he could have done so much, and it's so sad that he did the deal, got signed, and then his leg was just messed up the whole time. Thank you. Thank you for throwing the hearts up in the chat. I really appreciate it. It's for all of us. It's for all of us in the chat. We all need a little group hug. Because, hey, man, like, this is heavy. This is some heavy stuff that they're covering, you know? And this is heavy stuff about a topic that we all love so much. And it's pretty heavy to hear some of this stuff. Especially, like, I'm not going to lie. During the beginning of quarantine, and that's the thing, we started season 2 at the beginning of quarantine. We're still like kind of in a limbo weird area, and like we're getting season 3, and I'm sure all of us went back to the networks, now the Peacock. We all went back to our networks and we watched like older wrestling stuff, you know. I did that, and I did that with 97 WWE. And I was watching like that whole summer of 97, and the Heart Foundation was huge, and Pillman was in the Heart Foundation, and that was also the pay-per-view of In Your House Canadian Stampede, and also SummerSlam, and I watched it, and like, yeah, you know, I guess I didn't realize, or I didn't know that he was that hurt, and it's wild to like think back on it and look at all these old clips that they're showing, and it's just all there, and everything that we know about this wonderful art form that we love so much. All of the things that we know now about injuries and prescription painkillers and all that stuff is just, it's really sad. It's really sad. So take a minute. If you gotta cry, cry. And, you know, if you gotta stop watching, that's okay too. This is pretty heavy stuff. Man, it's all just really sad. If he didn't wreck the car, you know, living the life. You gotta live the life though. Oh, here we go. What's this? T-shirts. Oh, t-shirts. Promoting t-shirts. Now you can get the t-shirts. I'm sure at Pro Wrestling Tees. There we go. There we go. So if you want a Brian Pillman shirt, it's on Pro Wrestling Tees. I think we're back. We're back.
1997, Brian Pillman was found dead in his hotel room in Bloomington, Minnesota. He was 35 years old.
It's hard for me to still think about it today.
That's insane.
And think
My
about
brother's 35.
that athlete, that performer, stopping. Just doesn't seem believable.
It almost didn't register with me because I'm like, Brian ain't dead. Because he couldn't die. If you knew Brian, this force field of energy that he was, I thought could never be stopped. I honestly thought that.
State police showed up on the door and said that he had to tell me that my husband was found deceased.
As a kid already in this show business world, I was thinking, like, is this work? Like, is he really dead? Like, no, he's surely coming back. Like, I didn't even know what to think. I couldn't even cry when my dad died. And I just remember, like, my family we're all sitting on the bed, like, hugging each other and crying, and everybody's crying. I'm looking around, I'm like, where's the camera crew? They got to be around here somewhere, you know? I was like, all right, I'll play the spot here, you know? We'll all just hug and pretend we're sad. But then, like, reality set in. I'm like, oh shit, he's really not coming home. Like, holy crap. As a kid, that's just kind of what I thought. I figured, you know what? He went to work that day and he decided to stay there.
The next night on Monday Night Raw, the news of Brian's death is broadcast live.
Yesterday afternoon, Brian Pillman was found dead in a hotel room in Bloomington, Minnesota.
I remember when we tolled the bell 10 times, that was when I got emotional. I remember very emotional, and that's when I was like, he's gone. He's gone.
And then I remember talking to, I think Jim Ross. I said, hand the phone to Owen. And then Owen says, I don't know what happened. Then Vince got on the phone and he says, do you want to, talk on camera? And then I just thought, well, you know what? With Brian, the show must go on.
Joining us now, ladies and gentlemen, in suburban
Here we go. Y'all brought it up earlier.
Melanie Pillman. Melanie, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
I did say to Vince, please don't ask me about drugs or anything like that because I do not exactly know why he died yet.
Brian, because of his injuries, has had to take a great deal of prescribed medicine.
And that first thing he does is start talking about pain pills, and then I'm like, that's Vince, all right. I made like a really funny face, and I remember that's the only clear part of that interview I can remember thinking, wish this mother was standing here so I could smack him. Because he swore he wouldn't say anything like leading down that direction until the death certificate came out.
I think all athletes, to a degree, experience a reliance on pain medicine, and I knew it was just a matter of time before it happened to someone, and fortunately, it was my husband, and I just want everyone to know that I hope it's a wake-up call to some of you, because it could be your husband next, or it could be you, and you don't want to leave behind a bunch of orphans like my husband did.
I absolutely despised the grieving widow interview. I didn't like it on a wrestling program. I was uncomfortable with it. I didn't know why she had to go out there and have to answer these questions that were obviously meant to elicit tears and etc. for television, say for good television. I thought he should have sent her a check for $100,000 and kept her ass off TV, is what I thought. Have you had any opportunity to think about what you now as a single parent will do to support your 5 children?
Vince, I don't even really know what day it is, so I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, and everybody's like,
I
what you did to her, I barely remember it.
don't remember it.
I didn't really think about not doing it, but nobody pressured me into it.
I hated it. I didn't want to relive and regurgitate.
Makes it seem like it's a work.
To pop a rating. And to me, that's what it's all about.
Oof. Well, yeah, we had to get the elephant out of the room, right? Y'all brought it up in the chat. So shout out to all of y'all, because y'all brought that up like first half of the show. But yeah, I guess we had to address that. It's not it's not a great interview, that's for sure. It makes it seem like it's a work. I definitely remember that Raw after the pay-per-view, and uh I remember that. I don't know if I remember the interview, but now to look at it like how it was, it makes it almost seem like the interview is a work, which is kind of gross. Or, I'm sorry, not kind of, just like totally gross. It's weird. Oh, man. It's a lot of heavy stuff. Oh, man, it's a lot of heavy stuff. Oh, man. I mean, listen. It's not great. It's not great. It's not great at all. I don't know what to say. This is a very dark opener for this season. I feel like I'm left speechless because if it was a work, that was just, yeah. I don't know why you would do that. I guess just being I can't even explain why you would possibly do that. But what do we think? What do we think? Oh my goodness, Steve. Yeah, possibly. Yeah, so we do Steve pulling in some Twitch inside jokes. On Twitch, twitch.tv/Queen of the Ring, we are watching Tough Enough on Mondays, every Monday at 12. I'm sorry, not 12. Every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We watch Tough Enough. We've watched the first season, second season. We just finished the third season. We're about to start up the fourth season this Monday, so if you all want to tune in and watch Tough Enough with us on Mondays, 7 p.m. Eastern Time on twitch.tv/Queen of the Ring, come join us. It's a wild watch. We watched the third season and we almost didn't finish it because it was that bad. It was almost unbearable to watch. It's cringe TV at the end of the day, you know? So it's cringe reality TV. So if you like cringe reality TV, come join us on Mondays, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, twitch.tv/Queen of the Ring. Oh my goodness. But yeah, I just. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. If it's a work, there's a special. Yeah. Yeah, New York time. Your New York time. There you go. Yeah, it's a good thing his son is keeping the legacy alive, right? Yeah, this has been a tough watch. Um I don't know, man. We left off with the tough one. What was the official cause of death?
Heart disease. And see, my father died of a massive heart attack at 55.
What were your memories of his funeral?
We got there early before people came in because it was supposed to be family and friends. And when we walked in, there was a camera crew there. And I walked up to him and I said, "Who are you?" And I said, "You're not supposed to be here." They said, "Well, Melanie said we can." And I said, "Well, I'm Brian's sister and I'm telling you, no, you can't." And they left.
Did many
What?
Um,
Hi, Kayla. I love you.
That's the last time I see Brian lying in a casket. And that was just gut-wrenching. Absolutely gut-wrenching. I just stared. And I had memories floating back when I was looking at the corpse. I'm thinking, this shouldn't be a part of my pro wrestling career. This should not be a part of my journey in this crazy business. And we should be burying a guy that's this young. And there's a young family around him.
At the very end, everyone's gone except for, you know, a couple family members. And the little girls, they're kind of running around and they're not like crying or anything. They're just little kids. And they go, we got to say goodbye to Daddy. And they all run to the casket. Goodbye, Daddy. Goodbye, Daddy. It's like,
And I think for me, I was just in complete shock. I just, you know, I couldn't put it all together. I just couldn't believe it because it's like I lost my mom and now my dad, you know, and I was just a lost little girl.
Poor thing. I love you. We're watching some heavy stuff.
Right now, like, it's the same day almost. What do you mean? I mean, I can bring myself back to that same pain in my heart. If I let it go too long, which I'm just going to stop now, if that's okay for a second.
he had such an impact, such an influence on so many people's lives. It had to have hurt everybody to see him go. It had to have hurt everybody to lose him. But the person that hurt the most was Melanie, was my mother. She dealt with losing what was ultimately the love of her life.
After Brian is laid to rest, his children are jolted into their new reality.
I never really had a problem with Melanie until my father passed, and then, you know, like her true character revealed itself.
I spiraled out of control. I wasn't the best mother in the world. I always loved my kids.
Up until this day, Melanie receives royalties from my father's legacy, which I have seen 0 cents.
Oh yeah, they said I was a gold digger too, and I spent all the money I ever got on crazy stuff. Some of it was spent on crazy stuff, but not the way they said.
We stayed at my dad's house for a while, and then things got really bad, and we moved, and, you know, running water would be turned off all the time, electric would be turned off. It's crazy how you go from having a silver platter growing up to not even knowing when your next meal is going to be.
It took a downward spiral. I mean, there's no other way to put it. It got worse and worse and worse and worse.
Depressed a lot, sleeping a lot, drinking too much. Brian found me passed out one time, and I almost died of alcohol poisoning. I was like 12, and found me on the floor with a bottle of vodka by my head. No kid should have to see something like that. Craziness.
When my mother remarried and my stepfather came into the picture, there was a lot of drug abuse on the side of them, and there was a lot of neglect. My stepfather was very physically abusive with my sister and myself. I would be grounded to my room. You're grounded for the next 6 months, you know, I better not see you out of your room. He had dogs more or less trained to abuse me as well, and if I was grounded, like, these dogs would make sure I was kept in my room. Like, they would bark at me and they would bite me and they would physically, like, keep me in my room because of how I was verbally and physically abused by my stepdad. Like, these dogs would adopt that mentality of like attacking me. And then I was just so abused that my developing socially was very hard for me. And that's how you know, like, nobody took me out to throw a baseball with me, you know, like nobody took me out to throw a football, you know. So I went to school. I didn't know how to play sports, you know. I wasn't very athletic, you know, so I couldn't catch a football, couldn't throw a baseball.
Hey, y'all. I am shook. It's crazy stuff.
He caught onto that. My stepdad would catch onto that shit. He'd unplug it. You know, he'd throw it against the wall.
Oh my god, dude.
It's like everything I ever latched on to or loved was taken away. You know, so, it was hard. It was a hard time.
While Brian Jr. and Brittany grow up with Melanie, Danielle lives with her mother. As the siblings drift apart, their Aunt Linda takes action.
At least once or twice a month.
Dude, this is wild.
So they didn't lose contact with each other.
I love you too.
Literally everything. I swear, I think that she is a true angel. I don't have a mom.
What up, X?
Thing I have to as a mom. I can call her at any time. I mean, she took me in. You know, she bought this house so we could have a home and a family. And I don't know what I would do without her. I really don't.
Her Aunt Linda?
They'd all come to my house. There's a spider in the bathtub upstairs. I don't kill anything. You know, I always take them outside when I find them. Brian has a deadly fear of spiders.
I do too.
And there's one that
I do too.
I thought, oh, I'll get that later. I didn't think he'd go to the bathroom.
Oh, Linda.
Linda to death, and she's helped the kids a lot. And I just want them to forgive me. But do I know if they will or not? I don't know.
Brian Pillman lives on in the hearts and minds of his family, but his legacy would return to the ring in a way no one would anticipate.
It's gonna be all about his son. There we go. What's this show? RVD. There you go. Anyways. Oh, Kayla, I love you so much. You're the bestest in the world. I love you. Thank you for stopping by. Oh my goodness, y'all. What a season premiere. What a season premiere. Yeah, my face was locked on that. I was shocked. I was so shocked. I didn't think they were going to go in depth with the kids and what they've been through and Melanie. Oh, Melanie. I hope that she is okay now. I hope that homegirl got some help, cuz she tried her best sometimes, kind of. Melanie made a lot of mistakes. I don't know, girl. I can't defend you, but oh man. What an episode. What an episode to open up the season with. A good episode though. Can't lie. It's a pretty good episode. What do we think? Aunt Linda holding it down. She's a real one. Yeah. Linda Pillman is a saint. Aunt Linda is an angel. We stan Aunt Linda. We stan Aunt Linda. I've never been so grateful for a commercial break. Yeah, it got pretty heavy. Are we okay? Again, are we okay? Do we need to do it? Hearts in the chat, y'all. Hearts in the chat. Let's throw some hearts in the chat. We need hearts in the chat. We need some hearts in the chat. We just need it. It just needs to happen. Let's throw some hearts in the chat. Y'all need some hearts in the chat. There we go. Oh, you thought we were starting slow? Here's third gear. Yeah, pretty much, right? The last season, if you think about it, the last season, we ended it on the Owen Hart episode. That episode has not left my soul. I think about that episode at least like twice a week. Straight up. that episode lives rent free in my head. So it kind of makes sense that they're coming back with this kind of episode too. So, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I'm so about my heart. Yeah, my heart breaks hearing about the abuse in the house. That's it's sad. It's sad, but this show is necessary to like display the true colors of wrestling, if you will, the pattern of wrestling. Because unfortunately, this is a pattern that we have seen, and unfortunately, I hate to say it, like Brian Pillman almost kicked off that pattern of wrestlers dying young, you know? Oh, here we go. Oh, we're getting the Nick Gage. Oh, we're getting the Nick Gage episode next week. Oh, we're back, folks. Yeah.
He's a guy that overcame a lot of odds and totally kicked ass in an industry of guys that were much, larger than him. I would have loved to see.
Yeah, throw the MDKs up in the chat.
Had he never had that damn car wreck.
He knew the hand that he was dealt after the accident. Wasn't a damn thing he could do about it, which killed him. Figuratively, and I think eventually literally.
Brian's death started a domino effect that forced people to recognize the steroid issue, but put extra focus on the real cause of people dying too young, which is pills.
The only hurdle he couldn't get across was the last one, and it was his own body that had betrayed him. The biggest legacy, though, unfortunately, is what would have been, where he would have gone, what heights he would have achieved, how much bigger and better he would have gotten.
He saw the end goal. Like, he was so close to, like, really just, like, completely making it.
Yeah.
Like, in wrestling.
Would he have been, along with The Rock and Steve Austin and a few other guys, the biggest star in wrestling 5 years later? Probably. One of them.
It makes me so sad.
Right now, what are your biggest goals for this day?
Just rebuilding my relationship with my kids. Having my, kids not be mad at me by the time I die. We'll see if that happens.
My dad's not here, so if I got one parent left that I can go, oh, well, that's my mom. That's just the way she is, like, sure, I could live the rest of my life hating her, but where does that get me? Ever since I've rekindled my relationship with her, I've been happier in my personal life. I've been better in my relationships with women. I've been more understanding of people's plights and people's vices. I've been just a much more mature adult in general since I've buried the hatchet with my mother, so to speak. And in many ways, I'm very happy that I have a parent left on this earth to speak to and talk to,
I called Mel a time or two, and man, it was just lost contact. And man, I reached out to, Brian Jr. a couple years ago. I had one of Brian's old weightlifting belts.
Out of nowhere, a sign from the wrestling gods comes in the form of a cell phone call from Stone Cold Steve Austin to tell me that he has a Cardillo weightlifting belt that belonged to my father and that he wants to mail it to me and give it to me. And I'm like, you know what? If that's a sign, that's a sign.
Following in his father's footsteps,
There you
Brian
go.
Pillman Jr. decides to become a professional wrestler.
When he first said he was going to wrestle, like, it struck terror in my heart. I was like, oh my God, heritage. He's going to travel all the time. He's not going to be able. And then I saw him perform, and I saw the look on his face when he knew that he was creating homage to his dad. And I realized this is it. This is what's supposed to happen.
He just woke up one day and he was going to be a wrestler, and I literally laughed. I'm like, you, a wrestler? All you do is sit in your room and play video games. There's no way that you're going to be a wrestler. And it was just crazy. Like, he was determined, and he quit his job that he had just graduated college, and he was going to do it. And I was very hesitant at first just because of everything my dad went through, and I didn't want my brother to fall into that same lifestyle. So I was
Right.
scared.
I think he'd be proud of it. His son wants to carry on the Pillman.
AEW stuff.
He wants to make his father proud of him. He wants to accomplish something on his own, but yet pay tribute to his dad. I think Brian would be into that. I just think he might be worried that Brian Jr. is in it all by himself. He's got some people looking out for him, but I think Brian Sr. would a whole lot rather be there and keep an eye on him.
Great kid, looks a lot like his dad. And I talked to him about these things. There's a lot of great traits, Brian, that your dad had that I hope to God you can acquire. And then there are some not so much.
Yeah.
You have to learn where you draw the line. Use his passion, use his intellect, use his athletic ability, use his love of the game. But then don't get too far off the beaten path. Don't be a loose cannon, Brian Jr. Don't be a loose cannon.
You know, a lot of people, oh, you know, do you think your dad would want you to wrestle? And it's like, well, he kind of put his stamp of approval on me to be a wrestler when he named me Brian Pillman. You know, there's really no going back at this point. So, no, it's just tragic to know that we never got to have that ultimate father-son relationship. But in a way, it inspires me to be a good father one day. You know, so I think that's my goal in all of this, through wrestling and everything, is to be a father. So, that photo is very symbolic to me. You know, he's kind of holding me up, and I always look at it for inspiration. You know, so I would hope that one day I would, you know, have a son like that. You know, kind of hold up as the future, you know. It's like he's kind of giving me his blessing there in that photo. So
He contributed a whole lot to the wrestling business. He pushed the envelope. The loose cannon gimmick is one of the best ones ever created, and Brian was one of the best friends that I had.
Oh, man. Well, that's it, folks. That's it. Season premiere, Dark Side of the Ring, Season 3. What do we think? It's going to be a wild season. It is going to be a hell of a season. Listen, they did not hold back at all. They never do. They never do hold back. But, yeah, this episode was the right episode to go with for the opener. This is the season. We're here, folks. Every Thursday, we're going to be here. We're going to do watch-alongs. Tell all your friends who watch the show. If they love the show, come by. Come watch along with us. It'll be fun times. But yeah, crazy episode. Episode was just, as it always is, hard to watch. An eye-opener. And just makes you think. Makes you think a lot about the thing that we love the most, which is wrestling. So, yeah, real sad. But, yeah, we're going to be all right. We're going to be all right, folks. It's totally fine. So, yeah, this has been fun. We're going to do this every Thursday for the rest of the season. Next week is going to be Nick Gage. So the Nick Gage episode, if this was wild, this was hard to watch, I can only imagine how next week's episode is going to be. Listen, if you were entertained by my shocked face, stay tuned for next week, because my face is going to get worse. It's going to get worse. But this was a lot of fun, everyone. Thank you so much for watching this. If you don't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel or follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Queen of the Ring, or follow me anywhere, really. Subscribe, Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. Wherever you are, I might be too. Okay, so yeah, I will see y'all next week. As always, I am Alex, your Queen of the Ring, and I will see you on the internet,